I have issues is the name of a project that I am going to be building, and I'm going to take you along with me. I've recently been building some projects, and I've found a way that I've taken some things that I thought would take a couple of months. And because of the way that I end up using AI and Claude Code and the way that I end up processing things, I end up taking something that really should take about 2 months, and I condense it down into about a week. And I've done this twice now recently within the last couple of months. I just wanted to take this process and put it on the internet and show you kind of what I've done so that maybe the way that I'm doing things can help you. This isn't a tutorial. I'm just kind of trying to show you what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I'm going to show you kind of some of the decisions I've made as I make them and talk through what I'm thinking as I'm doing it, and hopefully you gain something from it. If this ends up being useful to you, then go ahead and subscribe, because I'm going to be doing this as a series, and hopefully you'll be able to watch me go through this process, and you'll be able to see from beginning to end what was I thinking in the beginning, how did I shape things at the start so that things only really ended up taking me a week instead of having this thing happen and this thing happen and this thing happen, which complicate the whole process and end up making things push out to be much, much longer. My goal for this video is going to be to come up with a few entities, or maybe all of the entities that I want in my app eventually, and then to come up with some of the more basic ones, some of the more foundational ones, and then on top of that, I'm going to link some relationships between those entities so that I can start to understand what's going on underneath the hood. But the way that I'm going to do that, or the way that I've done that, I did that this morning, is I first sat down and I looked at this UI. The first thing I want to do whenever I'm thinking about building something is I want to look at the UI. And I'm not just trying to look at it and just see it. I'm trying to see it with a little bit of X-ray vision. I'm trying to look at and see what's under the hood. So if I'm looking at this, I know that I have issues. I'm probably going to have a table called issues or tasks or whatever I want to call it, right? Probably going to call it issues because I'm naming this I have issues. But if I look at this, I have labels. Well, labels is probably going to be a table too. I'm going to go with relational database, by the way. I'm not going to go with something that's simple. Labels, I think, are going to be super. I've played around with labels, and I know that one of the things that I really, really want to take away is I want to abuse the heck out of labels. You can do so many different things with labels if you just know how to tweak them, because they're really just states. So anyway, I'm going to do a lot of really cool stuff with labels down the road, but for now, I know that I'm going to have labels as a table. Then we have author. Ooh, author. So we're going to have some kind of users. And in this case, actually, we have repositories because we're looking at GitHub. But instead of repositories, I'm not going to have code that's going to be connected with this. I might later, actually. I might connect it to a GitHub repository, a GitLab repository, or some other kind of place where there's some code. But for now, I don't want to do that. I just want to say I have a group. I have a grouping of these. And that's going to be, I think I'm going to call those projects. I know that they have projects here and that this is cross-repository, but we'll go ahead and figure something else out for that later. I've gone through all of this and thought through it and thought through the different relationships here. I've thought through fields. I've thought through just different things. And I've said, do I think this is a table? And if I think it's a table, then I wrote it down. Flashbang warning, by the way, we're going to go over to Figma. Flashbang. Anyways, here's the 8 things that I think are ultimately going to be a part of my app. These are the 8 core tables that I'm going to end up with. We have issues. Obviously, I'm naming this app I have issues. So we're going to have issues. And labels, we're going to do some really serious jujitsu freaking ninja stuff with labels later on, because labels are really, really powerful. And if you know what you're doing, you can do a ton of stuff with labels. Boards, we're going to do some board stuff. And actually, labels and boards have a relationship, because we're going to do some stuff like the projects and like GitLab projects where labels represent columns, but the board has to have a configuration. I just know this because as I work with them, like, where is it saved? Which label is which column? And what order they live in? Well, we have to have a board for that. So we're going to have some kind of board configuration. We're going to have comments, because as we go through, I can make a comment here. Comment. So we're going to have comments, and then action logs. So if we look here and we go back and we look at this guy, we have these action logs of just little things that have happened. There's a date with it. There's a timestamp with it. This is actually a little bit more intense of a date. It's like a whole timestamp. The instant that something happened, we're gonna slap that on there. And then we have kind of these actions, right? So we're going to have an action log of some kind. And then milestones. I think milestones is a kind of a good thing to do, is basically a collection of a bunch of these to say, let's say I want to have a new project, and in that project, we're going to have 3 stages. We can have stage 1 be 1 milestone, stage 2 be another milestone, stage 3, like MVP might be your first milestone, and it's going to be all the tasks that are required for MVP. Anyway, moving on, we have fields. Fields are also some serious jujitsu. If we want to do some really crazy cool things, we can just add these little custom fields. And if we let the user do a little tiny bit of scripting, we can let some really, really crazy automations happen with these fields. So I do want custom fields, but that also means that those custom fields are going to have to be their own extra things. So we're going to have custom fields, and then projects. Projects is actually the most important, because we don't have repos. We don't have repositories, right? We don't have a code base that this goes with. So how do we distinguish which bucket this goes into? Well, we're going to go ahead and use projects like this. Now, these being understood, I want to now put some relationships together. Well, I just did something very similar to this, and I'm just going to take these. We're going to zoom out just a touch, and we're going to do a little bit of stuff. We're going to say, I think projects is going to be our biggest guy. This is going to be the thing that's going to tie everything together, right? And so we're going to have projects, and there's going to be many tasks a part of one project. I think we can even get a little crow's feet here if we want. Yeah, we got a little crow's feet. There we go. So we're going to have one to many. So this one project is going to have many issues, and we can see that here. We have one project. In this case, it's a repository, but we have number 8, number 7, whatever, and yeah, anyway. So other than that, labels. Oof, I love labels. But labels, we can have, should labels belong to a project, or should labels belong to something else? Well, I don't know. I think if we think about it, we have labels. The way that GitLab does it is very powerful, but it's also kind of confusing. I think GitLab has these global labels that they have. And, you know that I think there's probably going to be a many-to-many in this case. So I think we're going to start with that, and we're going to actually try and go like this. I think there's going to be a many-to-many here. So we're going to just go ahead and start with that, and we'll think through it more deeply as we get into it. But this is just our basic understanding of stuff. and we can wave. Hello. Anyways, one of the biggest ones that I actually didn't add here is going to be users. I'm missing users. Let's go ahead and add a user here. Users. If we want multiple people to be able to handle this, then we're going to need users. And there's going to be a one-to-one or one-to-many relationship like this for users, because one user could belong to many projects, or many projects could belong to many users. So we're going to have to do that. Next, I want to think about some other things. Comments. What do comments? Comments, I think, are just going to belong to comments are just going to belong to issues, but there's a single issue. So I think this is going to be a one-to-many, and we're just going to boop like that. Oh, we got it the wrong way. Going to boop him and then boop him. There we go. So we're going to have many comments on there, and then we're also going to have an action log. And I think that we're going to have many action logs connected to issues. And now, okay, here's a little tricky thing. If we look at this, this is actually in line with the action log. So as stuff happens, these are actually in line with the action log. So I'm actually going to make a tweak. Something that I was thinking about is I'm going to make a tweak. And what that tweak is I'm going to do this. I'm going to boop this like that. So action logs, comments are just going to be a part of an action log. And I'll go over how I'm going to do action logs because it's going to be kind of weird. But we're just getting a basic structure of how everything works. And milestones, we're going to just say milestones are going to be something else later. Boards, we're going to do boards later. And fields, I think we're going to do fields later too. So we're starting out with what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to have 6 different tables that we're going to start out with. And we have kind of a structure here for them. And I think that this is kind of what we're going to start with. And the next thing that I'm going to do is, now that I kind of understand at least the core structure, then I'm going to take this and I'm going to break it down into all of the different attributes and things that I think are going to live on and be a part of these tables. So now I'm going to start to actually turn these into real tables. And I'm probably going to do those with TypeScript types, is just a starting way to do it. But at least I have a core understanding of how this works. And there's also a ton of other relationships here that we're going to have to link together. If you think about issues and tasks have assignees, and they have authors, and they have all sorts of other little thingies like that. But so yes, is there actually going to be something like this? Yeah, there is. But we're just going to leave it like this for now because we're just keeping it as simple as possible, and we'll build on it as we go. That is it for now. And if you think that this is useful, and if you're excited to see where this goes in the future, then go ahead and subscribe, because in the next one we're going to be creating actual real tables, and I'm excited to get there. I'm excited to show you some stuff, and I'm going to start to get into some code. So thanks for watching this one. Subscribe. Look out for my next one.